Episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, kind of looking back and paying a little respect to a coaching legend, Mike Krzyzewski, Duke Blue Devils. Before we get into today's content, make sure you're subscribed, folks. It doesn't cost anything. Pound that like button, leave me some comments. I love the dialogue, and hit that bell notification to be notified of future content like what's in today's video. Major college sports in both North and South Carolina, Carolina Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, and the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, folks, I recently did a video talking about the great players, great coaches, I should say, for the Tar Heels. And kind of had put Dean Smith at the pinnacle as being probably the greatest Tar Heel basketball coach, although Roy Williams has one more championship. But really, you know, with Roy stepping down at Carolina and, you know, Hubert Davis taking over, it wasn't shortly after that Mike Krzyzewski says, I'm stepping down at Duke. And this is his last year. So this is his last hurrah. So it's different than how Roy stepped down when the season was over and then called it a career. Krzyzewski's letting everybody know, all right, I'm going one time around the block here. I'm going to do this. And I kind of think it's cool that when you do it like that because, you know, it kind of gets to put it all out here in the end and see what they can. All right. Now, Mike Krzyzewski coming to Duke. You know, Bill Foster was at Duke. Bill Foster had gotten Duke. You know, they had been in the Final Four in '64, lost the first time they were ever there. I believe UCLA teams with John Wooden. But 1978, they lose to Kentucky with Bill Foster. They had Mike Jaminski, Gene Banks, Jim Spanarkel, Kenny Denard. Had some really good talent. And people thought, when are we going to get back? Well, Krzyzewski gets to Duke around 1980. And he knows he's got his hands full because he's got to now compete with the likes of, Val Vano hasn't got to state yet, but he's around that period of time. And you've got Dean Smith at Carolina, and Lefty Driesell at Maryland, Terry Holland, I believe, is at Virginia. You got a really stacked deck against you. And, you know, got to look at this guy, what he did in the ACC. Because when he first started out, man, a lot of people said, you can't beat Dean Smith, you can't beat Dean Smith. And Krzyzewski's proved to be just every bit of what Dean Smith was. And a lot of people think even better. Because remember, Dean won 2 championships. Roy Williams won 3. Well, Mike Krzyzewski's got 5, which matches theirs. And it's a different story. But yes, Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K, 5 NCAA championships. The 1991 team, basically a team of, you know, goes out there and want to say they beat, UNLV and maybe Kansas, a 92 team that they go in and win. 2001, they won a championship, 2010 and 2015. But with his 5 NCAA championships, you also got to look that the guy coached in 12 Final Fours. And it took him a while because although he starts at Duke in 1980 and he's slowly progressed along the way, you know, becomes ACC Coach of the Year in 84. So it took him a few years to get his class together like he wanted. Guys like Mark Allery, you know, before he could get Danny Ferry there. It took him a while. He had to get the players he wanted, Tommy Amaker. Certain players to get on board with his program, the great Johnny Dawkins. So his first Final Four is in 86 and gets Duke all the way to the championship. A lot of folks thought they were going to win it. And they ran into Purvis Ellison in Louisville with Denny Crum. And, of course, Crum had won the championship in 80 with Louisville. And so Louisville ends up beating Duke in 86. Comes back a couple of years later in 88. And I believe this is the year, 88, that it was either UNLV or 89. But both 88 and 89, they got beat. And one year was against Louisville. And they got drugged. I mean, they got drugged bad. Or it might have even been 1990. But when you look at 86 losing in Louisville, they don't make the Final Four. But then 88, 89, and 90, they're in the Final Four. That's some great teams. As a matter of fact, he had them in the Final Four 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, missed 93, 94. In a period of 9 years, folks. I just noticed this in a period of 9 years, 7 Final Fours. 7 Final Fours. And that's impressive. So he was bound to win them. But of course, those first four, 86, and then 88, and then 89, and 90, he come up short. And like I said, a couple of those games were championship games. A couple games were in the national semis where they got beat in the Final Four. Of course, 91, they win it all. And 92, they repeat. In 93, Carolina wins it all. But then 94 comes back, but loses in the Final Four. And I want to say the 94 team's the one that lost to Arkansas in Charlotte. They had Nolan Richardson, but the great team that Corliss Williamson, I think, that played for Arkansas. And Bill Clinton was in attendance that night. That was kind of the last Final Four that was in an arena that didn't have all these luxury suites, if I'm not mistaken. But then 99, I think, is the year that they ended up losing to UConn, if I'm not mistaken, in John Calhoun. Or Jim Calhoun, I'm sorry. 2001, they win a championship again. And 2004, they get back to the Final Four and lose. But then 2010, they win it all. And that's the year, I believe, 2010, where they beat Butler. And I know in those early years, it was the 1991 championship team, they beat Michigan. Or the 92 year, they beat Michigan, I'm sorry, with the Fab Five. But 2010 is the year they beat Butler and Gordon Hayward. And then, of course, they go back and win again. In 2015 was the last championship. But something to take notice of, folks, that the first four Final Fours that Mike Krzyzewski went to, he lost. Two of them were championship games. Then he gets his two. Then the next two after those, he loses. So 6 years out of 8 in the Final Four, he loses his championships. But when you go from 99 when he loses, 2000 they don't make the Final Four. But 2001 to 2015 they played in 4 Final Fours. He wins 3. So what that says, yes, it took him a while to get to the Final Four. And it took him 5 tries for getting to the Final Four before he won a championship. And then once he won a couple and lost a couple more, when he went back for the last 4 times in the Final Four, he had the perseverance, the endurance, the knowledge, the skills, knew what buttons to push, and he won 3 out of 4 championships, other than the 2004 year that they lost. So, really impressive. But Coach K, 15 ACC tournament champions, 12 ACC regular season championships. And as of 2021, 1,097 wins, 302 losses at Duke for a 78.4 winning percentage. Overall, because he coached at Army before he was at Duke in his 70s, 73 and 59 in Army. So his overall record, 1,170 wins, 361 losses. It's safe to say he's not going to have 400 losses. He'll end up with probably, 368, 370, who knows. But if he can get 30 wins this year, that's going to give him 1,200 overall wins as a Division I coach. And he only needs 3 more wins at Duke to have 1,100 wins at Duke alone. But 97 and 30 all-time in the NCAA tournament. So if he can get to the Sweet 16 and really get to the Elite 8, he can have 100 tournament wins. Impressive. 2-2 in the NIT, 63 and 21 in the ACC tournament. He was a 3-time Coach of the Year back in '89. They didn't win it all. They lost in the Final Four. '92 when they did win it all, and then '99 when they lost in the Final Four. He's 5-time ACC Coach of the Year starting in '84, and then in '86 when they lost the championship game in Louisville, and '97. And the '97 year was a good year for him. '99 when they lost in the Final Four, and the 2000 season. They didn't get to the Final Four that year. But he definitely has the most wins by any coach in Division I basketball history. And now he's going to be replaced by Jon Scheyer, former player. So, folks, what do you think? Do you think Mike Krzyzewski is the greatest coach in college basketball history? Do you think he was as good as Dean Smith? How about other coaches? How does it compare? Leave me some comments. Hit that bell notification to be notified of future content like this. By all means, folks, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And leave me some dialogue, folks. I love the comments. And we'll see you next time on another edition of the Carolina Sports Guy.